Students, welcome once again to the Owl Academy of Education। आज के वीडियो में हम ICSE क्लास 8th का बायो सब्जेक्ट लेसन 1 बुक है सृजन ICSE बायोलॉजी रिटन बाय श्री वीरवाला रस्तोगी, right? Lesson is first, which is regarding transport of food and mineral in plants. Basically this chapter belongs to transport of materials. Transport of material means water, minerals, etc., food, etc. in plants from root to the tip of the plant, right? So here we see all organisms have a way of transporting substances like nutrients, water and oxygen from one part of body to the another, right? Another, like in our body we transport, our blood transports oxygen, water and various other substances throughout the body. In the same way, plants have a well developed system to transport the essential materials like nutrients, water and oxygen from one part to the another, right? In single celled organisms like amoeba and paramecium, some algae, which the animals like amoeba, paramecium and algae are single celled, they have one unicellular, they transport their materials by diffusion, and the multicellular organisms like algae, fungi, sponges and hydra move the substances by diffusion only, right? Now we move on to the plants and complex plants and animals. They have a well defined transport system. It transports nutrients and oxygen to every cell of the body, and in return it also excretes harmful substances like carbon dioxide, ammonia or urea from body to the excretory organs, and the excretory organs push this waste material outside of the body, right? Now the transport system in plants is also called the vascular system or the conducting system. Conducting means to conduct one substance from one place to the another, right? In simple plants like Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra it is not found, but in the higher plants like petunia, vincia, mustard, balsam, mango, neem, etc. Mustard means sarson, balsam means gul methi, mango you know, neem you know, right? Now how does this transport system works and how it is made up of? It is made up of specialized conducting tissues in which pipe-like cells, keep in mind, pipe-like cells are arranged from end to end, right? They run from the tips of the roots to the tips of the leaves. Roots are here under the ground, leaves are here above the ground. So from roots they transport the material to the leaves. This system passing through the stem, in between lies the stem. In leaves, it is located in the midrib and its branches. So if we draw a structure of a leaf like this, so this is the midrib. The central vein is called midrib, and its branches like this. These are all its branches of midrib, right? Central, this is called midrib. Now they are made up of two types of tissues. This is xylem and phloem. Next we move on to the xylem. Xylem, what is the function of xylem and how from it is composed of? Xylem conducts water and minerals. Keep in mind, xylem conducts water and minerals, which is absorbed by roots to the other plants, to the other parts of the plant. The water and minerals are absorbed by the roots and it is transported to the other parts of the plant by the xylem, right? So xylem is composed of four types of cells: xylem vessels, tracheids, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. Now these xylem vessels are thick walled. Here is the diagram of xylem vessel. They are thick walled, they are non-living, they are long, they are tubular cells. They are just tube-like. Here tube-like cells, thick walled, non-living, non-living, right? They are open and at the both ends. Here you are seeing here they are open. Here also they are open. They are open on both the ends and are joined end to end. They form continuous channel from roots through the stem, right? From the roots, channels from the roots through the stem and to the branches and to the tips of the leaves, right? They form continuous channels. Water rises in the vessels against the force of gravity, because water rises from roots to the upper parts of the stem against the force of the gravity. Force of gravity pulls below while water goes above, right? So it is against the force of the gravity. Now xylem tracheids xylem vessels are four types of cells: xylem tracheids, xylem fibers, xylem parenchyma, right? Now we will move on to the xylem tracheids. Xylem tracheids are also non-living. They are also non-living. Keep it also in mind. Non-living. Elongated cells with pointed ends. They have pointed ends. Here ends were open and round, but they have pointed ends. Here are the pointed ends. Right? Here ends are also pointed. Along with the xylem vessels, tracheids also conduct water and minerals. They also conduct mineral and water. Right? Now we move on to the xylem fibers. Xylem fibers, here is the diagram of xylem fibers. They are thick walled cells and provide mechanical support. They provide mechanical support to the plant, so they keep erect. Xylem parenchyma are the last cells of xylem. They are only living. Only living cell of xylem are xylem parenchyma. Remaining are dead. Right? It is very important. Keep it in mind. They perform the storage. They store the food storage. Function of food storage is performed by the xylem parenchyma. They are living. Right? This was all about xylem and its parts. Now we move on to the next issue is number 2, that is phloem. Phloem function of xylem was conduction of water and minerals absorbed by roots to other parts of the plant, but the phloem transports organic food manufactured by leaves to all other parts of the plant. It is also composed of 4 types of cells. They are phloem vessels, companion cells, phloem fiber and phloem parenchyma. Now we will discuss in details about these cells. Phloem cells phloem vessels are also called sieve tubes. Why they are called sieve tubes? Here it is the reason. They are called sieve tube because of the presence of sieve plates at their end. Now we will see in the diagram, these are the sieve plates. Here are the sieve plates. Right? Sieve plates. And where is sieve tube? This is sieve tube. This is sieve tube. These are sieve plates. These round structures are lens-like structures are sieve plates. These are sieve tubes, long elongated tubes. Right? So phloem vessels are called sieve tube because due to presence of sieve plates at their ends. They are cylindrical, like cylinder, thin walled, living, arranged end to end. Here they are arranged. Here one end is joined with other. Like xylem vessels, they also form the continuous channels, but their end walls are perforated. Such end walls are called sieve plates. Perforated means they are closed by the sieve plates. Now we move on to the phloem vessel. Next functions of the phloem vessels. What functions they perform? They transport food or sugars mainly. synthesized in the mesophyll cells of the leaves. Important है, it is important, keep it in mind. Mesophyll cells of the leaves to all non-green parts of the plant. This is called conduction of food from source to sink. Right? This is called conduction of food from source to the sink. Now we move on to the next part of the phloem. It is companion cells. Their function is to help sieve tubes in loading and unloading of food. What is function of phloem fibers? Companion cells are here. These are all companion cells, right? And phloem fibers provide mechanical strength, while phloem parenchyma, here is phloem parenchyma. This structure, very well defined, very well made, is phloem parenchyma, right? They also stores food. So companion cells. So function of phloem cells are: phloem vessels transport food, phloem companion cells helps in loading and unloading, and phloem fibers provide mechanical strength, while phloem parenchyma stores the food, right? So this is a diagram. Write, practice it. It is very good, very neatly labeled and very neatly drawn. Now we move on to the next page in your book. That is, what is the function of transport system? Next page, next part of this page. So transport system in plants have mainly two functions. First is transport of water and minerals absorbed by roots to different parts of the plant. Second is, as we have already studied, translocation of food from source to sink, that is from leaves to other parts. Transport from roots to other parts of plant. Here is translocation. Translocation is from leaves to other parts. Below to up to below, right? So this food is the synthesized food. Right? So it is translocated. These are liquid, therefore they are transported. Right? Now we move on to the next part. This is transport of water. How transport of water and minerals is conducted. So it is conducted at three levels. First is absorption of water and minerals by individual cells, that is from soil by the root hairs. Through the roots has, these are roots and they have thread like structures. You have seen roots of plants, they have thread like structures called root hairs. Right? Number second is short distance transport or movement of water through. They are absorbed by roots. Now they will be distributed. Short distance transport or movement of water through root tissue from cell to cell. Movement of cortex of the root. Third is long distance transport, that is conduction of water through plant body or ascent of sap. Ascent means upward movement, rising movement. Right? Or upward movement through xylem vessel is called ascent. ascent of sap. Right, sap is liquid. Now here the diagram has been made. Root hair takes water, absorb water from the soil particles. These are root hairs. Root cortex movement, this is the movement of the water and minerals in the root cortex. This is upward ascent of upward movement through xylem vessels, and it reaches the leaf. Right, so this is the mechanism is divided in 3 parts, which are shown here, 1, 2, 3. Now we move on to the next page, next part of this page, that is page number 9 in your book. First part, as I have already told, now we will do it in details. First is absorption of water and minerals in plants by root hairs. Before proceeding in this point, we will see we will discuss main part So what is semi-permeable? Semi-permeable, which allows restricted. Semi-permeable means restricted, RESTRICTED, restricted movement. So selective or restricted movement. It is a semi-permeable membrane is a selectively permeable membrane which allows only certain molecules of a solution to pass through its pore. Right? Large molecules are not allowed to move out. Right? Here are examples of this selectively permeable membrane: parchment paper, urinary bladder of sheep or goat, egg membranes, and cellophane paper are used as semi-permeable membrane in the laboratory. Right? So now we will discuss here this number 1 point. Water and dissolved minerals are absorbed from the soil, as I have told earlier, through the root hairs present in the roots of plants. So what is a root hair? Definition of root hair is given. Root hair. A root hair is an extension of epidermal cell of the root. It is covered with a very thin semi-permeable cell membrane. So as you are doing it in biology, please see roots, see whole plant, structure of whole plant to understand its functioning from root to the leaf. Right? You will see nature has provided such a beautiful system in the plants. You will notice now root hairs has semi-permeable cell membrane which is filled with the cell sap. So here it is definition of cell sap. Cell sap is a watery liquid contained in the vacuole of the cell. Now where is this vacuole? This is the vacuole. Right? This is the concentrated cell sap present in it. This is epidermal cell, which I have told. This is outer cell wall of the root hair, and below outer cell wall there is cell membrane. Right? Here is the cell cytoplasm. and here is the nucleus. This is nucleus, right? Now root hairs have some adaptations for water absorptions, right? Adaptations, these are, root hairs are especially adapted for absorption of water because semi-permeable or membrane of unicellular root hair permits water, only allows water and mineral molecules to enter into the cell sap but does not allow them to come out. There is inward movement of water and other materials, but there is no outward movement, so it is selectively permeable or semi-permeable, right? Adaptation means it has some developed some special characters for this due to this semi-permeable nature of the membrane, right? Now the cell sap in the root hairs has higher salt concentration than the surrounding soil water. This cell sap has higher concentration, right? Large vacuole can absorb much water, and the root hairs provide a large surface area for absorption. Larger the surface area, greater is the absorption of water, which this water plays an important role in the development of the plant, right? So now we will move on to the next one point I will also discuss here. Cell sap in root hair has higher concentration than the surrounding water, surrounding soil water. So it is very helpful for the growth of the plant. Now we will move on to the next page in your book. On that page is the activity number 1. So understand it carefully. What is the purpose of this activity? Is to show that only the root absorbs water and not other part of the plant absorbs water. So here for this activity we requires the following material: 4 test tubes, marker, water, cork, 3 balsam plants, mustard oil, right? Procedure: take these test tubes and mark them A, B, C and D. These 4 test tubes, mark them A, B, C, D with the marker, and fill the water in test tube A, B, C. Fill the water in these test tube A, B and C about 3/4 part, right? Whereas here in the test tube a little amount of water, some water, and fix the cork firmly here in the mouth of test tube A, right, and leave it. Now take 3 small size young balsam plants with their roots intact. Wash the roots under tap water, then insert them in tubes B, C and D. Here are 3 plants, balsam plants. Roots are washed in a manner that the roots get fully dipped in water. Here these are fully dipped in water in test tube B and C, but not dipped in the test tube D, right? In test tube C, add few drops of red ink Here red ink will be added. Now add few drops of oil like mustard oil in test tube B and C, which would float on the surface and prevent any loss of water by evaporation. If we put mustard oil in these test tubes, it will escape the evaporation. Now mark the level of the water in 4 test tubes with a marker and leave this setup for about 24 hours. Right here marked with the marker. Now note any change in the level in test tube after 24 hours. After 24 hours you will see the following observations and their conclusion. In test tube A, water level remains unchanged because there was no plant to absorb water. Also it was corked tightly, so no loss of water. Right. Now in the test tube B, water levels falls because the water was absorbed by the plant through roots dipped in water. Good. Now in the test tube C, water gets into the plant through the roots and reaches the leaves as the path seen due to the red color. As we have put here red color, so it will see rising in the plant. Here there was no change in the water level as the roots were not dipped in the water. So this shows that only the roots absorb water, no other part of the plant absorbs the water. Right. Now we will move on to the next. Next is methods of absorption. Here are some methods of absorption. These are diffusion, water by diffusion. Water is absorbed by diffusion and minerals are absorbed by the active transport. Right. So what is diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of molecules from higher concentration to the region of lower concentration without using energy. This is also called passive transport. So I am marking it is important. You will see next portion why it is important. So how diffusion occurs in the plant? Here water from the soil, first step, enters in the root here by diffusion because concentration of water in soil is more than that of sap of the root here. So it moves from a place of higher concentration to a place of lower concentration. Right, students? Because concentration of water in soil is more than in the cell sap of the root here. Right? Understood? Now here you have to keep in mind that this diffusion depends upon concentration gradient, that is from point of higher concentration to lower concentration, and permeability of the plasma membrane, because the plasma membrane is a semi-permeable membrane and it allows some movement, restricted movement. Right? Now we will move on to the next. activity on your page 11 in the book is to study the process of diffusion. This way, the activity to clarify the diffusion. For this we need beaker, sugar cube and water. Simple activity. So take a clean beaker, fill 2/3 of it with plain water, put a sugar cube in this and keep it aside. Right, this is the first. Now the sugar from the cube, you will observe that sugar from the cube slowly dissolves in water and cube finally disappears. Right, here diffusion completed, here diffusion started, progress and has been completed. Now what is the conclusion? Because after 15 to 30 minutes the sugar gets uniformly distributed in water. Uniformly gets uniformly distributed in water. The sugar gets uniformly distributed in water and makes the water sweet. Whole water has gained some sweet taste. Right, so this is the simple experiment you can see, you can conduct in your home, very easy. Right, in the lab it can be conducted with the help of potassium permanganate. Now we will move on to the next, that is osmosis. What is osmosis? Osmosis is the slow movement of water, slow movement of the solvent molecules, that is water, from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. The process is called osmosis. As we have already studied, the cell membrane of root hairs act as a semi-permeable membrane through which water molecules from soil enter into the cell sap. Right, so here movement of water molecules through semi-permeable membrane is shown in the diagram. Here sugar molecules which cannot pass through the pores are here shown. Many water molecules move in this direction. Here direction of water molecule is shown. Some water molecules move in this direction here. So this is semi-permeable membrane. Water molecules which can, these are the water molecules which can pass through the pores. These are the water molecules which cannot pass through the pores. So why it is so? Because here this side is the higher concentration of water molecules, this side is the lower concentration of water molecules. The water moves generally from here, this to this. Right, so we have done two similar processes. Is there any difference between diffusion and osmosis? So both in diffusion and osmosis, a substance move from its higher concentration to lower concentration. So this is the similarity, but then what is the difference? But in osmosis the movement of substance occurs through a semi-permeable membrane. This is the main. In diffusion it was only movement from higher concentration to lower concentration, whereas in osmosis this is movement from higher concentration to lower concentration, but through a semi-permeable membrane. This is the main difference between diffusion and osmosis. Right, students? Now we will move on to the next, that is page number 12 in your book. Here activity number 3 has been given. So let me increase its size. So here, what is this activity? Activities are very useful to study the science. Very useful, very important to understand science. So do them. Don't think they are waste, spoiling your time. They are very useful. They don't spoil your time but makes your doubts clear about the science. So do them very carefully. Now this activity is demonstration of osmosis using potato osmoscope. So here material required are a large potato, beaker, tile, knife, pins, distilled water and 20% sugar solution, that is concentrated sugar solution. Now what is the procedure for it? Place the peeled potato on a tile. This is a tile, and cut its both ends to make the potato flat. To make the potato flat, make deep cavity at the center. Here is the cavity. This is cavity at the center of potato from one of the flat side. Pour distilled water in the beaker until it is half full. Here it is half full. Put the potato in the beaker and fill it with water. Now place the potato in the beaker and fill its cavity up to 20% sugar. Now here we will put the sugar solution with 20% concentration, right, and mark the level of solution with pin as shown in the figure. Here sugar solution, level of sugar solution is shown with the pin. Here final level of initial, here final, this was initial and final, right? So this will act as a osmoscope which will show us the process of osmosis. Leave the step up for about leave this for about 2 hours. Mark the rise in the level of sugar solution in cavity of the osmoscope with the second pin. Now here we will observe that level of sugar solution in the potato cavity rises from here to, from this is the initial level, from here to here it has risen. Now conclusion, the level of sugar solution rises because of, due to entry of water from beaker. Here from beaker water enter to the sugar solution through selectively permeable membrane of the potato cell. So this membrane is the selectively permeable membrane, this, right, membrane of the potato cell. This movement of water molecules from beaker into sugar solution across selectively permeable membrane is called osmosis. We have already studied its definition, right? Now we will move on to the next is number 3rd, that is active transport. The transport of molecules and ions against the concentration gradient by using energy is called active transport. The main thing here is that in osmosis and diffusion, we have seen they were without use of energy. Here active transport is also gains the concentration gradient by using energy, right? Here mineral absorption in plants takes place by active transport. The mineral ions move from their again lower concentration to higher. Lower concentration where in the soil to higher concentration in the cell. In the cell sap of the root hairs, which is against the concentration gradient. Energy is used for the transport of molecules against the concentration. Main thing here is use of energy. It occurs with the help of energy, right? So these were three subparts of the part 1, that is absorption of water and minerals in plants by the root hairs. It occurs by diffusion. We have studied diffusion, then osmosis, then this is active transport. This active transport occurs with energy and these were without energy. Now we will move on to the second part of that is on page 12 of your book. So here I also increase the size of the page so that now second point is movement of water through cortex cell, that is cell to cell transport. In this, water absorbed by root hairs moves through the cells of cortex of root by cell to cell osmosis. So which is cortex? Cortex is the part here shown in the figure. This is cortex, right? In this section cortex has been shown. So it keeps on, the water keeps on moving till it reaches the xylem vessels present in the central part of the root. Here xylem vessels are present here in the central part of the root. This is the central part of the root, right? This is the central part of the root. Now we move on to the third part, that is conduction of water or ascent of sap from roots to leaf. This was from cell to cell, this is from root to leaves, right? The movement here is upward movement. The upward movement of water and minerals through the stem up to the leaves is called the ascent of sap. As I have told you earlier, the water absorbed by the root is also called sap because it is actually a dilute solution of minerals, right? So it is also called a sap. When this sap reaches xylem vessels, it starts ascending upward. Ascending means moving upward. Ascending means moving upwards through xylem vessels from roots to the leaves. So this process is from roots to the leaves, right? Now we will move on to the next page, that is page 13 of your book. Here I should also increase the size. Here activity number 4 is given. activity number 4 is given. What is this activity? This is to demonstrate the connection of water or ascent of sap, that is rising of water through xylem vessels, is shown in this activity. Here material required are a test tube or conical flask, beaker, red ink like we used earlier, a twig with white flowers of petunia, balsam or vinca plant. Now procedure: take a test tube or beaker or conical flask filled with water, put few drops of eosin solution or red ink. Right, you can simply put red ink. Place the twig with white flowers in the conical flask. Now leave the conical flask for about 2 to 3 hours. Now observe the color of veins in the flowers and the leaves. Now cut the stem of the twig lengthwise, longitudinally or vertically, and observe what portion of the stem has become colored. Here this colored portion is clearly visible, that has been stained red. Now cut widthwise transverse section of this stem, one of the and one of the leaves. Here transverse section of leaf is given. Mount on a clean slide and observe under the microscope. Put here a slide and we will see it under the microscope. Here we will see that xylem tissue is stained red, other tissues are not stained red because xylem do the conduction process, and here ink is scented. Now in the observation we will see that xylem vessels are colored in both the section of the stem of the twig. Here also xylem in red color is shown. Here also xylem in red color is shown. Veins in the petals of the flowers and veins of the leaves have become also red. Here petals have also become red, veins, and here also we will see that some red linings. Right, so what is our conclusion? Ascent of sap show upward conduction of water or upward movement of water and minerals through xylem vessels or vessels or vascular bundles. So this activity is also good. Now we move on to the next, that is root pressure. Root pressure is the initial pushing force that helps to force water upward in the xylem vessels. So its definition would be: plant roots build up pressure that force water upward in the xylem vessel. It is called root pressure. It provides initial push for the water to move upward in the xylem tissue. It also hold the water column up, that is movement of water like this from root to the leaf. Now what is this root pressure? Is mainly, actually it is hydrostatic pressure. Hydro means water, pressure of water that develops due to accumulation of solute minerals in the system. The water then diffuses into xylem of the roots, increasing hydrostatic pressure of the root or the root pressure. So it is the root pressure which pushes the xylem sap to rise upward a few meters in the stem and the leaves and helps in conduction of minerals and water, and ultimately results in helping the growth of the plant. Next page is page number 14 in your book. Here also an activity is given. I should increase the size of the page. In this activity you have to demonstrate the root pressure in the plants. For this we requires a potted herbaceous plant, manometer, glass tube and rubber tube. Take the potted plant such as balsam plant, remove its leafy parts, leaving the stem just like this, just a few centimeters above the soil. Insert the glass tube immediately over the cut end of the stem and fix it with the help of a rubber tube. This is rubber tube. Now connect the manometer. This is manometer, it is shown here, with the glass tube as shown in the figure. Observe the level of mercury in the, this is mercury, you have to watch it here in the manometer. Observation, the mercury level starts rising. Here it was here, now we will see after rising it comes to here, from here to here. So conclusion is the upward movement of water in the stem is due to the root pressure, nothing else. Now we move on to the next, that is transpiration. What is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of water vapors from the leaves and green herbaceous stems through stomata. In transpiration from leaves and stem through stomata, right, in woody in the green herbaceous stems, and in the woody stems it occurs through the lenticels. So here only 1 to 2% of water absorbed by roots is used by the plants. A large amount of water, that is about 99%, is lost by plants through transpiration. Factors which affect the transpiration are: number 1, temperature of the air increases. First factor is temperature of the air increases the transpiration. Number 2, humidity decreases transpiration. Wind speed increases the rate of transpiration, and the sunlight causes stomata to open and increases transpiration. Through stomata water is lost. Since stomata remain open during the day and closed during night, there is more transpiration in daytime than in the night. So here is good question, why there is transpiration is more in daytime and less in night time. So you can explain from here. Has this transpiration any importance? So importance of transpiration is given here. Transpiration helps in the upward movement of water and minerals from roots to the leaves. Transpiration builds a suction force called transpiration pull. It's also a good question. The suction force due to transpiration is also called transpiration pull. In the xylem vessel, it pulls water up to the top of a tree. This transpiration pull pulls of water from roots to the top of a tree. Rate of absorption of water increases when there is more transpiration. More is the rate of absorption of water, more is the transpiration. Transpiration produces cooling effect which protects the plant from heat of the sunlight. It is a very good factor to protect the plant from the sunlight and from drying, right? So every phenomena has a vital role. Next is page 15 of your book, and there is checkpoint. Vascular system in plants is made of xylem and phloem, as you have already studied. Semi-permeable membrane permits the entry of water and minerals in the cell sap. Root hairs absorbed by you have already studied diffusion or osmosis. Transport of substances against the concentration gradient by using energy is called active transport. This is active transport. Transport of water and minerals from roots upward the leaves is called ascent, ASCE, ascent of sap. Temperature in air increases the rate of transpiration. So this is checkpoint, you can note it. Now we move on to the next is activity. So the more activity helps you to understand the science. Activity 6 is to demonstrate the transpiration in plants. Potted plant, bell jar and glass plate, polythene cover are required for this procedure. Take a well watered potted plant having broad leaves. This is the plant. Cover the pot with polythene cover. Now cover the pot with a bell jar and seal it with Vaseline on glass plate. Leave the setup in the sunlight for an hour. Here you will observe that drops of water are seen on the inner surface. These are droplets of water on the inner surface of the bell jar. Conclusion: these drops have appeared by condensation of water vapor that have evaporated from the leaf. This is our conclusion. When we keep cut flower, here the reason and answer explanation of this: when we keep cut flowers in water, they remain fresh for few days, otherwise they get dried up in few hours. Why? Reason is well known to you, because flower dry up due to loss of water by evaporation. When we keep them in water, the stem absorbs water, which is then transported to flowers. The water lost by evaporation is replaced by the water absorbed, and hence the flowers remain fresh. Good question, important question for your exam. Why do plants lose so much of water? Because roots continuously absorb much more water than required by the plants. To get rid of this excess water, plants lose so much of water. This is also a good question, keep in mind. Now children, we will move on to the next page, that is page 15 in your book. Here we will see importance of minerals. What is the importance of mineral? Inorganic elements which plant obtain from the soil are in the form of minerals are called minerals. Right? Soil is very rich in minerals. More than 60 elements are found in different plants. So, but only 17 plants are absolutely necessary for more than 60 elements are found in different plants, but only 17 are absolutely necessary for normal growth and development of the plants. So these are called essential. These 17 are called essential, while rest 43 are non-essential. Essential are 17 out of 60. These are 43 are called non-essential. Essential elements are needed as structural components of the plants. They can be divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. Depending upon the quantity of essential elements required by the plants, these elements are divided into two categories, that is macro and micro. Macro are large, they are required in large quantities, so they are called Macronutrients, they are carbon, hydrogen. Carbon is most of the vegetation is made up of carbon, so it is the major macronutrient. Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, calcium, potassium and magnesium all are macro. Whereas micro are required in very small quantities. They are also called trace elements, right? These are iron, manganese, copper, boron, zinc, molybdenum, chlorine, nickel. So what is the role of these macro and micronutrients? They help in permeability of the main, this is the main requirement, permeability. If the cell will not be permeable, then there would be a problem. Permeability of membrane. Second is osmotic concentration of the cell sap, due to which this osmosis or diffusion happens. Components of protoplasm such as nucleic acid, cell wall, etc. are formed for protein synthesis, photosynthesis and respiration. For breathing they are required. They are also required for closing and opening of stomata. They are also required for growth and reproduction of the plant. Right, now we move on to next part of it, that is if they are short, they are deficient in plants, may happen diseases. Their deficiency can cause diseases, the symptoms or disorders, so which is shown in the following table. Role is shown, their deficiency symptoms is also shown. First are macronutrients, then are micro. In macro, first are nitrogen. So what it helps, it's help in constituents, very important in the formation of protein and nucleic acids, right, which are also essential for us. Deficiency symptoms: poor growth, small leaves. Poor growth and small leaves show the deficiency of nitrogen. Delayed flowering and purple spots on the leaves also due to shortage of nitrogen in plants. Yellowing of old leaves, that means chlorosis, that is loss of normal. Chlorosis is also called loss of normal green coloring in plants, right? Now sulfur, it is helpful in formation of proteins, enzyme, vitamin and chlorophyll required for the plants. Its deficiency symptoms are chlorosis and curling, and yellow leaves are folded, that is called curling and yellowing of the leaves. Phosphorus, it is also required for nucleic acid and nucleoproteins in the plants. Its deficiency symptoms are stunted growth, premature leaf fall and brown areas on the leaves and fruits. In micronutrients, first is zinc. Zinc activates certain enzymes constituent of some plant hormones. Its symptoms, shortage of its symptoms are stunted plant growth, D-shaped leaves and yellowing of the leaves. Now next is manganese. It plays a role in chlorophyll synthesis and in nitrogen metabolism. Symptoms are yellowing of leaves, spots on leaves due to deficiency of manganese. Last one is boron. Translocation of the synthesized enzymes and flowering and fruiting. Death of stem, its symptoms are loss of its symptoms are death of stem and root apices and thick and curled leaves. Right, now we move on to the next checkpoint, that is fill in the blanks. hydrogen and carbon are required in large amount in plants. It has been written as large. And nitrogen takes part in formation of protein and nucleic acid. Boron has important role in flowering and fruiting, and micronutrients are required in small amount by the plants. So students, this was your lesson number first. Details I have explained here. We will do its exercise in the next video. Till then, revise it, study it, revise it again and again, so that you will feel easiness in doing the exercise. So it is all over for now. We will meet in the next video for exercise of this lesson. If you have understood this lesson well, then please make more and more likes, subscriptions and sharing to help us. If you feel any problem, you can comment in comment section of our channel. Your comments are energy booster for us. Thank you. It's all over for now. Goodbye.